Have you ever come across a word in another language that just doesn't quite have an equivalent in your own? It's a pretty amazing moment, right? It shows you that some ideas are so deeply tied to a specific culture that they need their own unique word. Today, we're going to dive into some really powerful examples of this from Mandarin Chinese. And that brings us to the big question. Why? Why can't some words just be translated one for one? Is it just a missing word in the dictionary, or is something much more profound going on here?
Well, the thing is, language isn't just a big list of words. It's more like a map of a culture. And these so-called untranslatable words, they're like special landmarks on that map. They point to unique social values, feelings, and situations. So in this explainer, we're going to explore modern Chinese culture through some of these incredible words.
So let's start with the language of relationships. These are words that really get to the heart of how people connect with each other, both socially and romantically. Our very first word is luōhun. Let's just break that down for a second. The first part, luō, means naked, and the second part, hun, means marriage. So a naked marriage is when a couple gets married without what are often seen as the three big assets: a house, a car, or a diamond ring. Now, you might be thinking that in a lot of Western countries, that's pretty normal. But in China, this is a very, very big deal. The whole idea of luōhun shines a spotlight on the huge societal pressure, especially on men, where owning property is often seen as a basic requirement for even proposing. It's a word that was truly born from a specific economic and cultural reality. Okay, next up we have Sanguan. This is a big one. It refers to a person's three core views. That is, their worldview, their personal values, and their ethics, all rolled into one. Now, when two people just don't line up on this, it's called 三观不合, which means their three views don't align. And you know, this goes so much deeper than saying something like, we just don't click or we don't see eye to eye. 三观不合 describes a core, fundamental incompatibility in the very way you see the world and what you believe is right or wrong. It's an incredibly precise way to explain why a relationship, whether it's romantic or just a friendship, simply cannot work. So here we have two terms that are basically polar opposites, two common male archetypes. On one side, you have the nuǎnnán, which translates to a warm-hearted man. This is the guy who's kind, tender, and just really thoughtful and considerate. And on the other side, you have the zhìnán. Now, literally it means straight male, but in today's culture, it means a guy who's kind of emotionally clumsy, isn't great at sharing his feelings, basically the complete opposite of a nuǎnnán. Now let's look at two terms that are more centered on female relationships. First is guī mì. This means a best female friend, but the feeling behind it is so much more intense. It really implies a bond that's so deep you're practically sisters. Then there's sā jiao. This describes a very specific kind of behavior where a girl might act all cute, maybe a little pouty, or even pretend to be mad, all to playfully get something she wants from her partner. It's a very unique and culturally understood form of interaction. All right, let's switch gears. Our next section is all about the language of status and success. And these words, wow, they tell you a lot about how a culture thinks about things like achievement, money, and even physical appearance. This slide shows us the two ends of the academic world. On one side, you've got the xuébà. This is your academic superstar, the top student who not only gets amazing grades but makes it look completely effortless. And their opposite? That's the xuézhà, a total slacker who's just awful at studying and couldn't care less about exams. Now, what's really crucial here is the cultural attitude towards them. In China, being a xuébà is actually seen as really cool, something to aspire to. Academic success is a huge deal. And that's a pretty sharp contrast to a lot of Western cultures where sometimes the smartest kids get labeled nerds or are made fun of. It's a massive difference in perspective. This next term, tǔháo, is just fascinating because it's a direct result of China's recent economic boom. The literal translation is earth-rich, and it's used to describe someone who has tons of new money, but very little culture or good taste to go with it. The closest we probably have in English is new money or maybe vulgar rich. To really truly get what this word means, this image paints the perfect picture. Just imagine, someone pulls up and gets out of a brand new Ferrari, the ultimate symbol of wealth, right? And then they immediately turn and spit right on the sidewalk. That combination, all the money, with a total lack of class, that is the absolute essence of a tǔháo. Here is a very modern one for you. 颜值, it translates literally to face value, and it's used to basically put a number on how attractive someone is. If you say someone has a high 颜值, you're saying their good looks give them a real, measurable advantage in life. It's almost like thinking of attractiveness as a stat in a video game. Okay, in our final section, we're going to look at the language of everyday feelings. These are words for those unique little emotions and situations that you've probably felt before, even if you never had a specific word for it. I am almost certain everyone has felt this. The word is hòupà, hòupà. It's that sudden rush of fear that hits you only after a dangerous moment is completely over. It's not the fear you feel during the close call, it's the delayed reaction once you finally have a second to process just how bad things could have been. Let me give you a classic example. Imagine your child is playing in the yard and walks right past a venomous snake hidden in the grass, but nothing happens. You didn't even see it. It's only later that a neighbor tells you what was there. That sudden retroactive wave of terror that washes over you, the what-if feeling, that is hòupà. Our next term is 膨胀了, 膨胀了. Now, the word itself, 膨胀, means to inflate or expand. But when it's used like this, it describes that feeling of getting totally carried away, especially when you're shopping. You inflate the moment and end up making a much bigger, more extravagant purchase than you ever planned on. Here's the perfect scenario. You walk into the phone store just to get a cracked screen replaced. That's it, a simple repair. But you get caught up in the moment. You see the shiny new models, and somehow you walk out with a brand new top-of-the-line phone. That feeling of what just happened, that's when you say, I 膨胀了. All right, let's do a quick lightning round to finish up. First, we have 打脸, which literally means hit face. It's that feeling of being proven completely and embarrassingly wrong after you made a really bold claim. Next, 下饭. This is a wonderful, cozy word for any dish that is just perfect to eat with a big bowl of rice, especially something with a great sauce. And finally, 打鸡血了. This one means injected with chicken blood, and you use it to describe someone who is suddenly, for no apparent reason, just bouncing off the walls with energy and enthusiasm. So what's the big takeaway here? It's that these words are so much more than just items on a vocabulary list. They're cultural touchstones. They give us a real, authentic peek into the social pressures, the values, and even the unique sense of humor of a culture. At the end of the day, understanding words like these isn't just about sounding smarter. It's about learning to see the world from a slightly different angle. It allows you to communicate with more nuance and to connect on a much deeper, more genuine level with people from that culture. So, I want to leave you with a question to chew on. What's a word in your own language that you think would be really hard to translate? You know, a word that, if you took the time to explain it, would open up a little window into your own culture for someone else. It's a fun thing to think about. Thanks for watching.